Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I appreciate you checking it out. I am on my lunch break at work, so I got to be quick about this, but I wanted to make a little video for you guys explaining my S209 flare situation. So I was the first person to buy and install the S209 flares in the United States. As soon as Speed had them listed on the website, I went on, I bought them, and I put them on my car. I was really excited about it. I was like, oh, okay, I found something cool, something new, and I want to be the first person to do it and just have that wow factor and help people with the install and everything else. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do the S209 flares since the S209 came out. I saw it and was like, oh my god, I'm going to call up Subaru and buy that flare kit and put it on my car. Well, it turns out it's a lot more complicated than that. It costs about $3,000 to $4,000, sometimes more to get the flare kit, and this was $1,000. Put it on, made a video for you guys, showed you how to install it, and I have yet to update you on anything. I've posted a little bit on my Instagram about it, but I haven't told the whole truth. Like, I haven't really explained everything because it's a lot to explain. And so I constantly have people messaging me, asking me questions about my wheels, my fitment, if I rub, the flares are okay. And it's really hard to answer all those questions at once. So I'm going to do it right now in this video and explain my situation with my S209 flares and why I've had them for exactly a year and now I'm taking them off. So before I actually take you outside and walk you around the car and show you the damages caused by the S209 flare kit, yes, I said that correctly, damages, I wanted to talk a little bit about the main reasons I'm removing them and probably never putting them back on. Number one, fitment. Okay, with the S209 flare, I'm going to say this right now, it's always in my description, but I'm going to say it anyway. With the S209 flare kit, I was running 18 by 9.5 wheels with a 38 offset and 20mm spacers. I was rubbing. I lifted the car. I was still rubbing, just not as much. At some point, my car was at stock height with that fitment with the 20mm spacers. My wheels and tires sat flush with the fender flares. But sitting flush with the fender flares means you're going to rub. It's going to happen. They're over fenders. They're not actual flares. So when your car drops down, your actual fender and your over fender are hitting the freaking wheel and tire. That's the main issue. If you do not run a spacer and you run a narrower wheel or whatever you got to do so that you can go low, well then you have this much of your body sticking out. You have almost a whole inch coming out where, you know, your tire's tucking, but then you have these big flares and it just looks dumb. I'm sorry if you have that fitment. I'm sorry if you like it, but I don't. It just looks weird to me. Reason number two, it constantly peeled. So when I originally installed them, it was like the first week of February. I got the kit. I installed it in my heated garage. I heated up the whole garage with a turbo heater. It was 80 degrees in my garage. I heated up the 3M tape with a heat gun on the back. I cleaned the entire car with alcohol. If you watch my video or if you've already watched it, you're going to see that I have installed them exactly how anyone would install 3M tape products. I let the garage stay heated for over 24 hours. I left that freaking turbo heater run in my garage for 24 hours. Burning up fuel and going out and refilling it every now and then to make sure those flares had enough time in the warm weather to properly adhere, which by the way is 24 hours for 3M tape. The 3M tape had every chance in the world to be properly adhered. The only thing I didn't do, you can use a primer or an adhesive promoter with 3M tape. However, it doesn't always help. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Fast forward a little bit. I had the flares for about 3 months without really any issues. I started noticing in some of the corners it was peeling. This happened around the same time it started getting warm outside. So I'm like, okay, maybe the car's getting hot, the metal's heating up, and the flares are coming off. And to be specific, the front fenders and the rear quarter panels. The bumpers were staying fine, the ones on the back doors were staying fine, that was all fine, but it was peeling in the corners of the flares and it was driving me nuts. Around 6 months ago, I let the car sit, bake out in the sun, and I just tore off all the flares. Carefully too, mind you. When I took off the flares, I damaged the paint on some spots. I found dents underneath my paint. I found creases underneath my paint from where the flares were sitting. And, well, quite frankly, it took me hours and hours to remove all the 3M tape residue using an eraser wheel and then wet sanding and buffing everywhere that the 3M tape was to get the residue off. So a couple weeks passed, I realized my car looks naked, I kind of missed the flares, I want to put them back on, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I do everything right. I switched tapes, I got a stronger 3M tape than what came with them, I reinstalled them. And when I'm reinstalling them, I'm noticing that some of them seem warped. Once you take your flare kit off one time, you can warp it. And I think what happened was maybe I grabbed onto a corner and I was pulling it and it was hot outside and it sort of warped it. I don't know if there's a way to unwarp it. I tried heating it up. I tried letting it sit on a flat surface out in the sun. Nothing is getting that thing to sit perfectly flat like it was when I bought it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just put a bunch of tape on it. So I'm talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times. I have uninstalled one individual flare, retaped it, re-cleaned it, and reinstalled it. Please don't fill the comment section with, oh, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, my S209 flares are perfectly fine. Because you may live in a different climate, you may live where there's less moisture, there's less heat, or you may have gotten lucky. Okay, maybe you got lucky, whatever, or maybe you've only had your flares for a month and you think they're fine, but later down the road they're not. I'm not saying that the S209 flares are terrible and they're bad and you shouldn't buy them. I'm just giving you my experience. I think they're really cool. I love them. I wish they would have worked out. I just don't have the patience to keep mangling with them. If you're going to do the flare kit, be very, very, very meticulous on how you install it, and maybe do self-tappers or do nuts and bolts or do rivets or panel bond. If you're planning on keeping that kit on your car forever, just send it and do it the right way. For me, if I'm going to permanently bond something to my car, it's going to be real flares or it's going to be a wide body kit. With all those reasons on the table, the final reason being, after I took them off for the last time and I realized all the damage it has done to my car thus far in the last year, I've decided that I can no longer reasonably keep them on my car. And so I'm going to take you outside now. I'm going to walk around my car. I'm going to show you all the issues that I've had. You can decide for yourself whether you want them or not. Anyways, all that aside, let's go outside. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to just jump into it, show you what's wrong. Now, unfortunately, it is sunny outside and it may be hard to see some of this stuff, but I'm still going to point it out to you. The flare kit actually took off a couple chunks of paint on my bumper, and it's going to be hard to see it, but I had to touch them up. There's a couple little chunks down here. You may not be able to see it, and that's fine. There's also, where the flare kit was, there's a little crease. I'm not sure if that's from pulling it off or putting it on, but there's a little crease there. You can see right here is the biggest issue that I had with the flares because it literally took off my factory paint. The 3M tape, I've never had an issue with 3M tape before. Not sure if the factory paint here was a little bit thin or what happened, but I've since touched it up and it's not quite as noticeable, but you will see right there, the paint is missing, and that's not inside there. Right there, right at the tip of my finger, the paint is missing. If I get at the right angle, you'll see the discoloration of the touch-up versus the real paint right there. It took these chunks of paint off of my car. This front fender, of course, now I have it out in the sun, it's going to be really difficult to show you, but there's a dent right there, there's a dent right there, and there's a dent right here, all from the flare. Then there's a crease that comes the whole way down right here where the flare rode on. And that is because, again, when you put the flare on and you push it down, the edge of that flare is pushing into your freaking body panel, and it's going to cause a crease. Now, right here, you can see it completely pulled the paint off. I've installed another badge and stuff, but this all here is missing paint from this bottom plastic trim panel from the 3M tape used on the badge. So the badge that was here, you can see actually a line because I haven't cleaned down here yet. There's a line where the 3M tape and the badge come, and it took the paint right off this freaking spot. On this fender, maybe you can see the dent a little bit better. I'm not sure. There's a little crease. It's going to be hard to show you. Sort of like right where my finger is. Try and pay attention. I'm going to kind of like move you back and forth. It's going to be a line, like a crease that just runs up and down like this. So just keep a lookout for that. Yeah, right there, you're going to see it. Right there. You see the edge of those pallets, how they're shifting in my fender? That is a dent. That is a crease in my fender caused by the flares. Again, 3M tape took paint off my bumper. Factory bumper that has never been touched. Boom, took the freaking paint off of the edge and right there. There's a little dent on my bumper now where the flare basically was like right here, and right where the flare ended, like right here, there is a crease on the bumper. And that is also present on this side. So you can see pretty obviously where the flare was. So I'm going to see if I can get you that same sort of angle so you can see it sort of shifting and moving around. And that's really the only way I'm going to be able to show you this dent. That wasn't like that before I put the flares on. And last but not least, back here, you're going to see that same crease on my door caused by that flare. You see that crease right there in my door? Right here. You can see it right there. If I put my hand there and you see that shadow, look at that. That is a dent or a crease caused directly by the flares. You can see the line where the flare was on there, and I don't know if it's from the actual removal of the flare, but that line is not there on a factory car that has not had flares. These dents were from a window tint job that I had done that was a little bit shady, but you'll see right here, it's a little crease there. That's my gripe. So with all that in mind, my intention is not to tell you not to buy it or deter you from getting the kit. I think it's a cool kit, and if you're doing it, it's not as temporary as you think. It is I would call it a permanent solution. Plan on it being a permanent solution, because if you think it's temporary and you plan on taking it off, you might be disappointed when you do. So with all that out in the open now, and you have seen everything, and I've pointed out to you the damages and all that, if you are planning on getting the S209 kit, or you already have the kit, I'm going to ask you guys in the comments, everyone who has the kit already and is seeing this video, if you are successful with your kit and you haven't had any issues with your kit, do me a favor and leave a comment and just let us know if there's anything that you have done that I didn't mention in the video that is helping keep them intact. If you're having a lot of issues with yours, let me know in the comments so other people can see it and we can talk about it. So you guys have been nothing but supportive to me, so I just feel like I owe you the honest truth about my experience with them. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. And, we'll see you again in the next video. Hopefully we'll have some more positive energy and we'll be doing some cool installs or something. So when that time comes, I'll see you then.